It's the evening of the 8th of November, 1888. A steamship is making its way across the Arabian Sea, south towards Bombay. The weather was fine when the ship left port earlier in the day, but she was soon caught in a cyclone off the Saurashtra coast. Massive waves crashed into the sides of the ship as the captain tried, against all odds, to keep the ship steady. Terrified passengers screamed, holding on to whatever they could, as the crew desperately tried to keep order. After a brave but short battle against the ferocity of the storm, battered by the wind and the rain, the SS Vaitarna sank to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. The most famous shipwreck in history is the Titanic, which went down in 1912 after striking an iceberg in the Atlantic. Of the 2,240 people on board the doomed ship, more than 1,500 lost their lives in the tragedy. James Cameron's 1997 film based on the disaster has made the Titanic synonymous with shipwrecks. 24 years before the Titanic sank below the depths of the Atlantic, India had her own Titanic, the tragedy of the doomed steamship SS Vaitarna. Built by the Grangemouth Dockyard Company in Scotland, the Vaitarna was registered in Glasgow and owned by Bombay's A.J. Shepherd and Company. Named after the Vaitarna River near Bombay, the steel schooner boasted of 3 floors and 25 cabins, and was powered by a 2-cylinder compound steam engine. For her maiden voyage to India, the SS Vaitarna made her way around the Cape of Good Hope before travelling up to Karachi in modern-day Pakistan, before reaching Bombay. As the captain of their new steamship, A.J. Shepherd and Company appointed Haji Kasam, an aristocrat from Kutch, who also owned some land around Bombay and had a house on Malabar Hill. The SS Vaitarna joined the line between Mandvi and Bombay, ferrying passengers and goods up and down India's west coast. The journey from Mandvi to Bombay took 30 hours to complete, and tickets cost around 8 rupees. Despite being a modern ship and being outfitted with electrical lighting, from which she got her nickname Bijli, the SS Vaitarna was not designed to withstand storms at sea. The SS Vaitarna's final journey began around noon on the 8th of November 1888. At around 8 am, she left the harbour at Mandvi with more than 500 passengers on board and sailed across the Gulf of Kutch to Dwarka. By the time she left port, she had more than 700 passengers on board as well as crew. The next stop of her journey was the port of Porbandar, but the ship soon encountered stormy seas. Because of the turning weather, the captain did not stop at Porbandar and headed straight for Bombay, hoping to stay ahead of the storm. Neither the ship nor any of the 750 souls on board were ever seen again. When the SS Vaitarna failed to make port in Bombay the next day, she was declared missing. The official death toll, including passengers and crew, was reported as around 750, including over 100 children. Newspaper reports at the time claimed that the real figure could be as high as 900 or 1000. A.J. Shepherd and Company, to their credit, acted fast to try and find their missing ship, but their efforts would go in vain. They sent out the Neera and the steamship Savitri to scour the coast as far north as Veeraval, but no trace was found of the missing steamship or any of the passengers on board. The steamship Ter was sent out later to join the search, but didn't have any success. An article in the Bombay Gazette from the 24th of November described how the ship had probably gone down. It is now believed to be most probable that, After being carried away by the fury of the cyclone further on from Porbandar, she must have floundered in the Gulf of Cambay, along with all the passengers on board. The agent at Kutch Mandvi, according to a letter received from him by the owners, had issued tickets for the Vaitarna to 600 passengers, exclusive of over 100 children, for whom no tickets were required. It is insisted that 184 passengers, again exclusive of the number of children with them, went on board at Dwarka. Add to these the crew, and the lowest estimate of lives lost by the floundering of the Vaitarna comes to between 900 and 1000. The tragedy is unparalleled in the history of Bombay. We have one last chilling account of the potential fate of those on board the SS Vaitarna, given by the captain of the steamship Pachumba, reported in early December 1888. The captain of the Pachumba reports that at the time the Vaitarna left the last port at which she touched, he was proceeding on the course she must have taken, and he suddenly found himself in a cyclone. The waves becoming high and broken and the wind terrific. He put round and for some hours endeavoured to keep his head to the wind. The next morning, when proceeding on his course, he called the attention of those on board to an extraordinary number of sharks swimming about in a particular area of the sea. The inference is that the Vaitarna, with its hundreds of passengers between decks, lay engulfed below and formed the attraction for the sharks. The sinking of the SS Vaitarna made news across the world, as far as London and New York. An inquiry was immediately launched by the Bombay Presidency government to get to the bottom of the matter. The Marine Court found that the ship wasn't built strongly enough to weather a cyclone out at sea. It was also determined that safety measures had been inadequate with not enough life jackets. They also found flaws in the system in which certificates were given out to new ships, and especially the way in which the maximum number of passengers allowed on a ship was determined. The report also weighed in on how the ship had most probably been sunk. After being caught in a squall, the passengers had probably been thrown to the opposite side of the ship, causing the Vaitarna to list over to one side. With the storm raging and waves battering her, she floundered and was unable to right herself again, eventually sinking. The report also recommended that the government set up a storm warning system along the coast. The official death toll given was 763, but it was probably closer to 900.